Welcome, everybody, to our inaugural episode of MTGFAM, Magic the Gathering, Family and Magic. We want to officially welcome you to the family. I'm your host, Sid, co-host of the Command Center on the One More Mana YouTube channel. Today, I'm joined by two illustrious hosts, Kyle and Mason, and together we make up the EDHDADs. So we pretty much started this podcast, MTG Fam, because we wanted to speak directly to the Magic the Gathering players who are parents, who have families, who are just looking for that familial aspect and that social aspect of Magic the Gathering, and pretty much just offer our insights and our advice on how we balance Magic the Gathering and family time. But first, we're going to introduce ourselves, our real names, and also our Twitter handles. Also, how we got into Magic, our dadness or our family aspect, and also our favorite commanders. Kyle, how about you start us off?
Okay, so I'm Kyle Carson. Most of you know me as Cowboy Kyle in the Magic world. It's because of the big white cowboy hat I wear everywhere. My Twitter handle is my real name of Kyle Carson. There might be a C in there. I should know that. But if you look up Kyle Carson, I'm probably the one that comes up with the big white cowboy hat on my head. I got into Magic roughly in like third grade, so Ice Age ish. And when Tim Castry, shout out to you if you ever listen to this podcast, just showed up at my house with some cards and was like, "We're going to learn how to play." And he taught me some semblance of the rules. I had a great time. I taught my brother. I taught my neighbors. I've been playing on and off since. Magic's a game you never really get done with, which is a blessing and a curse. And as far as my dadness, I've been married for almost 11 years to my wonderful wife. I have two kids. I have my son who's 7. I have my daughter who's 4. And we currently are foster parents. So we have a almost 1 week or 1 year old and almost 2 month old at the same time. So it's been a lot going on at home. My favorite commander is easily Gyrus, Waker of Corpses. It's a Jund value, aggressive, graveyard based deck that I get to do all kinds of fun things I used to love doing with Carador, but without all the loops. So I have a lot of fun with it.
Awesome. Mason, tell the people a little bit about yourself. Same questions.
All right, so those of you who know me. I mean, my name is Mason. I go by the Twitter handle All I Do Is EDH because that's pretty much literally all I ever do anymore. I've been playing Magic since about original Zendikar, M10. Was caught up in the whole, oh my god, Baneslayer is F this and F that craze when it was hot and standard. Just really got in with some friends that I worked with, cool people. It's like, hey, buy one of these precons, let's play. Started obviously kitchen table, and just really dug in. At that point I literally carried my whole collection in a tote around with me whenever I went to play. It was definitely different times back then. So I am married, going on, I believe, about 8 years now. Don't let my wife hear that. She'll tell me I'm wrong probably. I am a father to a now 3-year-old son. My only child, other than what the wife calls the fur baby, the dog who's named after a candy bar, Reese's. And just when it comes to Commander, my favorite Commander, I really have to say that there is none better than Viborg Most Enraged. I mean, just think about it. He just sits there, and he's just giving you lands. And those hands. You get a land, and you get 3 damage. You get a land, and you get 3 damage. Over and over and over. I'm just going ham, and we're having fun. How about you?
Hi again, everybody. My name is Sed. I go by Sed Senpai on Twitter. I got into Magic around 2011, which I believe was the Innistrad block. And I learned to play because Kyle sat me down and forced me to play, pretty much like he did all of his other friends and family members, I suppose. And it's been pretty great ever since then. I've loved Magic. I incorporated into my hobby, and As you can tell, I love it because, we're doing podcasts and stuff around Magic. I've been married for about 8 years and have two children. The oldest is 3. The youngest is about 6 months now, so fairly new. And my favorite commander, I would definitely have to go with Thraxamundar. Thraxamundar is the Grixis zombie assassin, the 7-drop. This guy is just a powerhouse. He has haste. He makes your opponent sack a creature on attack, and he gets bigger every time players sacrifice a creature. And that flavor text just says it all. Basically, it says his name means he who paints the earth red.
It's weird that Thraxamundar is your favorite commander, and I've played Commander with you for years, and I can't remember the last time I've seen you with a Thraxamundar deck, or even worked on one.
Yeah. It's definitely been some time since I played Thraxamundar. Is was probably a few years ago. Last time we've been to Gen Con, so it's definitely been some time. I'm excited to try to rebuild it, add some more zombie support that's come out in Magic in the format over the past few years. So I'm excited to see where this goes. But let's switch gears for a bit. So let's talk about our first topic for today. We want to discuss Magic the Gathering withdrawal due to social distancing. So, of course, with the COVID-19 and coronavirus situation going on, a lot of us haven't been able to meet up regularly or at our local game stores and play Magic the Gathering. So, we just kind of want to talk about some ways to socialize with your friends or with other people around the world as far as how to scratch that Magic the Gathering itch, how to uh, brew your decks together, how to play with one another, how to strategize, and also just gather and organize your ideas around Magic the Gathering. So, Mason, I would actually like for you to discuss this idea that you brought to us within our group chats. This was the idea as far as brewing decks together or group deck brewing. So, could you kind of discuss like what brought this on, and also how has this evolved or changed your deck building styles?
So when I started playing EDH and just brewing decks, I always had a companion, should I say, a friend who lived close that I worked with on this stuff that was always there to bounce ideas off of. And it just made deck building so much more involved and fun, if you ask me. So it just came to the point where I had friends that either quit playing or moved away, and I kind of lost that connection that I had. And so I started turning to Twitter and playing there, like talking to people there about, hey, let's do, like, I'm doing this, give me some feedback, give me some feedback. But it really wasn't scratching the itch as much as I really wanted it to. So I reached out to a couple different people that I talked to pretty regularly, one of them being Kyle, and just said, hey, I know I have you on Facebook. Do you just want to work on decks, bounce ideas and stuff off each other, just as someone to have that readily available for? And he's like, yeah, let's do that. So we got to talking on there and bouncing deck ideas, and obviously you said would come up in conversation talking about the one more mana the page and everything. We were all just talking about it, and I'm like, you know what? How about we see if Sed wants to get in on this? And Kyle's like, yeah, I'll ask him. And ever since then, we've had our own chat, and I have flooded it with deck lists almost 3 times more than you guys. So
Yeah, it's okay though.
A lot of ideas flowing there. Yeah, so basically, what basically saying is that we took group chat, and just among the three of us, every day we're bouncing ideas off of each other's heads as far as helping each other build a deck or what pieces should go in a deck or come out of a deck. And I think it's been pretty beneficial so far. What would you say, Kyle?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. It's been nice to stretch myself a little bit as a deck builder. A lot of my decks tend to be fairly same-ish on ramp counts, wrath counts. They all primarily win through creature damage in combat because that's the kind of player I am and that's the kind of games I enjoy fostering. But it's been nice to talk with you guys because you kind of give me some of your pet cards, break me of some of my pet cards. You deal with me when I have some pet cards, and kind of help me work around them and get them into the list so they make sense. It's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it. I really recommend doing this with other people you know. If you can ever do it in person, it's fantastic. I've had one such occurrence where I sat down with my most of my play group with Have the Eternal and like a huge maybe board. And we just kind of fanned out the deck, and we were going back and forth of going which cards should go in the deck and which cards should come out, why, and the deck improved significantly with that number of eyes on it. Now, one thing I will caution with group deck building, as amazing as it is that you have to be careful not to lose your own voice as a deck builder. But as long as you have enough confidence in yourself as a deck builder, it won't happen.
Definitely. As you mentioned, there were a number of pet cards or deck building strategies that you kind of rely on, fall back on. And I think that during this process, we all kind of figure out our strengths and weaknesses, our patterns, our deck building patterns. And again, kind of leaning back with the strengths and weaknesses, we kind of figured out who to talk to about what to add to our decks. Mason, speak to that.
Whereas everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, I tend to be really big on mana bases, and because I always leave them to their own point. I'll brew an entire deck before I have the mana base figured out. I have a general idea on my quantities, but I'm always going to know, hey, what kind of cards I want here. Hey, there's these weird sub cards that people don't really think about when it comes to lands. I always love them. Then I would probably say my other thing tends to be anything related to Mardu. If it's Mardu, like, I absolutely love it because it's just removal city. Like, come on. Removal is my favorite.
Yeah, definitely. And with mana bases being your strength, that's definitely my weakness.
Yeah, don't talk to Seb when it comes to lands.
Yeah, I might just ignore you. But no, seriously, like I care very little about lands and mana bases, and one day I'll get into it. Probably make my deck building better, but I rely on you guys for that right now. So my strength is just adding creatures, adding cards, adding janky cards. So if you ever need that, I got you.
Now said, your strength, sir, is adding cards when you're well beyond 100.
Yes. Yeah, we sit down, we're like, hey, I've got 115 cards. What do I do? And Sed's like, hold my beer or my other beverage. I don't know if you don't really drink that much, neither do I. So I don't know why I said that. Regardless, here's another 15 cards that you need to add.
Well, that's where Kyle comes in because he's the cut master. He can tell you where to start cutting.
Yeah, I will wholesale cut your deck. Primarily, I'm going to look at your rough counts of like how many card draw spells do you have, how much card advantage do you have, how are you recurring things out of your graveyard. But where I have the most fun is your creature base. Like I said it earlier in the thing, I want to win through combat damage. I want you to win through combat damage. I understand that winning through combat damage isn't efficient, that combo kills or aristocrat kills are a whole lot easier. I don't care. I'm going to turn them sideways. I'm getting into that red zone, and that's how I'm going to end games. And that's how I'm going to kind of tweak your decks to maybe end that way.
Gotcha. All right, let's switch topics real quick. We're going to do a summation of everything we talked about before we move off the entire segment. But another way for us to scratch that magic itch, we've seen a number of people over the past couple of months get into or ramp up webcam gameplay. Have any of you guys tried it? Plan on doing this? Is it too late to get into this? What do you guys say?
Kyle, you go ahead. You were talking about this the other day.
Yeah, I have gotten into this. I've got actually a cardboard box sitting next to me that's roughly the size of a playmat in width and 18 inches high. So cut a hole in it to put my phone as a webcam, and I can sit down and play webcam Magic. Some decks don't work. I've done it 3 times. I played with people on the West Coast. I played with people on the East Coast. I played with one guy in Costa Rica. I played with my local play group, which was really interesting. Games tend to go a little bit long, and there can be some awkwardness of just like how to pass the turn and what to do. Some cards you just can't use. We had one guy play a prized amalgam, which, if you don't know, it takes a card from the top of every person's deck as a manifest every turn. And when he cast it up, we just kind of looked at him and were like, how are you going to do that? Do you want to do it face up? Do you want us to like message you what they are, but then we know one of us knows what they are and the rest don't? He's like, no, I take it back. I'll just discard it as soon as I can. It's fantastic. I really recommend doing this. I'm trying to get another game set up with a couple people around the world again. You can play with people that are your friends that you've met at like MTG Travel that you don't get to see regularly. And all it took was a global pandemic to make it physically possible.
Mason, you plan on getting into any of this?
I honestly I like the idea, but I would have to use my phone to do it, and I'm really not interested in setting all that up. Plus, with the stay-at-home order starting to get eased up a little bit, I've already had some of my friends that were local come over, and we've had a game night in. Obviously, very cautious, sanitizing, stuff like that before and after, but I've definitely been able to get that paper Magic feel back in and play that for a little bit, and I was really digging it.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious about trying out webcam gameplay. I have definitely looked at a few content creators try out the webcam stuff online, and I gotta say, I'm just not feeling it like I normally consume their original content. It just doesn't feel the same. So I don't know. I'm kind of up in the air about it.
It's definitely strange. You miss some of the interaction and the table chatter between players. Like you can't just like lean over and have a conversation with someone and see how their day is going or how their week's going while someone else is taking their turn. You also can't play certain cards. Like I have an Ink Eyes deck that there's no way I would pull that out in a webcam game, but I'm excited to try it in paper. But like a deck like Thrun that I've got together or Drakoseth, I'll play that all day because it just turns things sideways.
Yep. Just pick something to blow up. So let's switch into our other topic real quick before we get off of technology. So Mason, you had a list of ideas as far as what resources people could use to help them with their deck brewing, help them with their deck building, and just keep themselves organized. Can you run through some of those for us?
Oh, definitely. I mean, obviously, you have your major deck building sites out there, Tapped Out, Deck Stats, and now with the rise of like Archidect, which is my personal favorite. Being able to share your decks is a lot easier nowadays, especially in like super easy to read formats. But a lot of people either don't have the ways to set up like the digital games where they can use a phone or a webcam to get all that set up. And that's where some of these options definitely come from. I'm going to start out using untap.in. It's going to be a web-based resource for being able to test against other people, basically like combine a deck list site and an online play space together, and that's what untap.in is about. It does not have all of the MTG rules or anything built into it, so you're really going to rely on people that know what they're doing with the game and playing properly. Obviously you're going to work on your honor, but it's definitely a workable option for someone who wants to scratch that itch that way when they just can't any other way. Then there's going to be another one, which is one that I've used pretty profusely, and it's going to be just Cockatrice. It's going to be a program that's available through GitHub. Yet again, it's going to be online-based resource for playing against other people. You have to sign up for most of them, but there's multiple different servers. Some are more casual, some are more mixed, some are like super competitive, but they're completely different servers where you can find games of pretty much any format. Like they even do drafts on there and find a way to make it work, and it does the job. And it's available for like Windows, Mac, Linux. Definitely an easy to use option, but yet again, we're talking another option that doesn't have the rules system built in. It's yet again, you're on your honor system there, but as long as you know what you're doing and have a decent idea of who you're playing with, it's really not that big of a problem. Then we're going to look at like Tabletop Simulator, which is going to be another platform that's fairly new, but it was designed to play board games online. Um, it's actually a paid for platform that's available on Steam now, and some people have worked it into where they've programmed the magic cards into it, so you can import the cards and import your decks and play. Now, like, it's a fun time. But at I think they said last time I looked, it was around $20, $30, somewhere in there. At that price point, I'm not sure that it's worth it. Plus, yet again, it doesn't really have the rules system built into it. It's not made for that. It does have some really cool other options though, where people can import like their own custom-made games in it for testing, and there's a lot of pre-made games already that can be downloaded via DLC. It's a good option if you're just wanting something to play around with, but it's not the most optimal. Then you're going to get from there. Obviously, we're going to start into the official Wizards product. MTGO. There's been the rise of what's called the cheap EDH deck on MTGO. With the quarantine and everything, the cheap nature of it is still there, but some of the cards have definitely risen in price as people have just started grabbing up cards to be able to build whatever decks they want on there. The market on there has definitely fluctuated, but it's still pretty easy to get in there and spend $4 or $5 to get a fun deck to play with. It's really, really solid. But yet again, you're looking at playing with a lot of people that you don't know if you don't have friends that are on there. But overall, it's one of the easiest to work with just because it is Wizards product and has the rule system built in. You really don't have to worry about it too horribly much. Then we're going to go to the second digital platform from Wizards that is still in use, and that's going to be MTG Arena. Obviously, it's going to have access to multiple formats of Magic. It has a rule system built in. The card pool is limited currently, and they have said that they're pretty much not going to widen the pool out to include the ability for like EDH and all that. That's a real bummer. I would love to see it because the platform works really well. I prefer it to MTGO for playing, but that's their decision to do. Definitely an option if you just want to get in there, play versus bots, play versus people, draft, some other formats that you don't normally see in paper, historic, stuff like that. But it's definitely a feasible option if you just absolutely have to play some Magic. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of good options.
One of the nice things with
Go
Arena
ahead.
is that Brawl isn't EDH and never will be EDH, but it at least can scratch some of the itch because like you still get your commander on the side, you still got your decks. You can play with historic cards, so it's not only standard. It's not going to be the same, but at least it's close.
Exactly.
I don't know. I'm not touching Brawl. I tried it. And that deck didn't stay together very long.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's definitely understandable.
Okay. So before we get off this topic completely, I just have a quick question for you guys. So we've been talking a lot about how we've been connecting online and through social media and other avenues that people can kind of connect together, whether it's through MTG Arena or some other gaming platforms. Do you feel like that there's an importance right now for building a social network online or building an online network for support?
Absolutely. Like Magic is a social game. It's about the gathering. And being able to talk with other people, both primarily about cards, but also being able to shift into real life when things are going bad. Like I've had some employment issues with this whole thing going on, and being able to reach out to a couple people that I play Magic with and be like, "Hey, I think I can help you with some of that." Or in this thing, talking about family things. Hey, I've got 2 kids screaming. What do I do? My kid's having trouble using the bathroom. Any suggestions? by the way, while we're up at 2 o'clock in the morning, because we're both up at 2 o'clock in the morning, I got to make 4 cuts to my deck. What do you think?
Yeah, 2 a.m. deck building is it's not bad.
I mean, not for you guys. I'm useless at 2 a.m.
I mean, 2 a.m. is like the very end of right before I'm about to go to bed. But I get it. Like I'm always up late. But to continue on with what you were going on, obviously having those networks to support are definitely what has helped a lot of us. I know me included. Not just go stir crazy. It definitely is something where you have to take the time and do a little bit of self care, even if it's just hopping on a chat, hopping on a voice call, and just say, "Hey guys, what's going on? What are y'all doing? Yeah, I'm just kind of bored," or "Hey, just needing someone to talk to." Just that little bit of aspect, being able to have that human connection when it's a lot harder to have human connection, really makes all the difference.
Gotcha. Definitely. Yeah. This time has definitely been useful for psychological, emotional, social support. Just being able to, just connect with people. Like you said, Kyle, this game is all about the gathering, and there's a lot of magic happening, but no gathering. So we had to find our way through it, fight our way through it. And I think this is something we can kind of continue doing even after the pandemic lets up or cities start going back to normal. There's still some useful experiences that we learned throughout this. And kind of just wrapping up that, from the talks that we've had so far, the group deck brewing, it's a way to understand your strengths as a deck builder and also your weaknesses, and also just learn your closest deck building friends, their strengths and their weaknesses. That way, you know exactly who to go to for what situation you have for your decks. Also, I love the advice that you had as far as try not to lose your voice as a deck builder. Your deck should still be you, should still be yourself. So even though you have input from your friends, your deck building friends, the deck is still at the end of the day yours with some input from your buddies. And we talked about webcam gameplay. Some card interactions or some cards will just be difficult to play for webcam. So please consider that, everybody, before you put your decks together and set your webcams up and connect with your friends across the world. Have a talk beforehand to figure out what cards or what interactions will work or what they will allow. It will just make the gameplay a lot smoother.
There's also the thought of like a lot of people are using Zoom for free, which caps at like 40 minutes. So you have to understand like the game's got to end.
There's another option that I know that the CMDR Central guys have been using, and I need to look into that a little bit more. But from what I hear, it doesn't have that limit, and it's still really easy to set up. I'll have to do some research and get back to y'all on that because I think it would be another really good option.
Yeah, I mean, I've just done Facebook calls if I've had to, like Facebook video calls. It kills your phone battery, but it works.
Before we get off the segment, Kyle had a secret that he's been itching to tell us as far as how he's been getting some MTG games on the side, not just through webcam gameplay. What is your secret, Kyle? What do you have to tell us?
So it took me a while to get into webcam gameplay because of this. And that's that I taught my son how to play. Right before the quarantine all started, we ran to my LGS. We got a couple of like the free intro decks or whatever they're called nowadays. They're 30 card single color decks. And we started jamming. And we started with very basic rules of just trying to have a good time, everything at sorcery speed, one main phase, and just kind of worked our way up. And now he's got almost the entire basic rules down as far as like those kind of cards go. He can recognize cards by their pictures. We play 2 to 4 games a day. He's asking me all the time, like, "Hey, Dad, can we play a game of Magic?" And oftentimes I have to say, like, "I've got one of your sisters right now. I'm sorry, I can't, but we'll do it later tonight." And it's been wonderful. He got into it by his own volition. He saw me watching a stream, and he's been a part of me playing Magic forever. And he just kind of came up to me and was like, "Dad, can you teach me how to play Magic?" And I was just like, yes, I can, and yes, I'm very excited to.
So basically, what Kyle is saying is that when we start getting questions about how to teach our children, or you guys out there are wondering how to teach your children how to play Magic and keep them enthused and strategies and everything, Kyle would be the go-to person. All questions will be directed at him, and this is now his project.
Yay! You're in no way all doomed.
Only you can save the children, Kyle. All right, so we're going to move into our very final segment for today. We always want to try to have a fun question posed to the host, and we each get a few minutes to answer them, and just kind of lets the people get a little insight about who we are. So our question for the day centers around the Ikoria set, Ikoria Land of Behemoths. It's recently or is soon to drop. We know all the cards; they've been spoiled, so we got to have a favorite card from the set that just pretty much caught our attention, that we've been eyeballing since we first seen the card. So Mason, please let the people know, what is your favorite card from Ikoria?
So I've already set the precedent earlier in the show about where I really sit as a Magic player, where I really like to build around, and that leads me to an uncommon instant set called Dire Tactics. For 1 white and a black, you exile target creature, and if you don't control a human, you lose life equal to that creature's toughness. I'm all about removal. I'm all about an interactive suite in my decks. And when I saw this thing, I almost squeed. I freaking love this thing. Yeah, it's 1 more mana than your normal Path to Exile and Swords to Plowshares, but it just fits in so many decks as like your third or fourth piece of removal behind, like especially if you're in black and white already, behind Anguished Unmaking and Swords and Path. It's just so good. Plus the art on it is just one of the coolest things I've seen. It really goes with the name. You just see someone like jumping through the air, attacking some sort of monster beast thing, and they are just like, it's like looking like they're just making a leap to go straight for this thing. Like, it just really fits the card really well.
See, I would have never assumed that like a removal spell that's probably your third or fourth removal spell in a deck would be someone's favorite card, and that's fantastic.
I really enjoy it. So
Yeah, it's uniquely you. What was the name again for the people so they can look it up?
Dire Tactics. It is an
Gotcha.
uncommon.
See, he's over there with the uncommons. I have a mythic rare, and it's Brokos
Get
Apex
out
of
of
forever.
here.
Yeah, whatever, guys. It's Brokos Apex of forever. If you followed me at all on Twitter lately, or over the last like month since it's been released, you've heard me talk about this. You heard me talk about my deck list. These two have heard me talk about my deck list ad nauseum. I am so excited about this card. It's 2 mana and then a blue, black, and green for a 6/6 trample. That's almost it. But you can mutate it out of your graveyard, and it has mutate for 2, a Dimir, green, green. So I've almost cut blue entirely from the deck, which I know a lot of people would think is crazy to make just a black green deck. And you just like Cold Eyed Selkie is now a 6/6 trampling island walk. Vampire Nighthawk now is a Vampire Nighthawk that's a 6/6 trample. Like, it's just fantastic. You can do so many things of just stapling onto these like little bodies and putting on this just amazing 6/6 trample. Yeah, sure, it's a charging monster sword. I don't care. This card's fantastic. I'm going to attack you with it turn after turn after turn, and that's going to be fantastic. Plus, the art is great. Philip did wonderful work. I'm so excited if you haven't noticed about this card.
Yeah, that was the card that you definitely spoke about the most. You let all the other mutates just move out of the way, and you pretty much just locked in on that one. I could never for the life of me understand why. Just from your recent builds and kind of seeing your deck list, I see why. It's a good card. It's a good card.
I mean, to me, after like I really looked into the card and heard him talking about it, I'm just like, No, this is 100% Kyle. He just wants to get in there and beat people down. And Brokos just goes like, you know what? I really like the ability that you have there. We're gonna go ahead and use that for ourselves and just go even more ham.
Yeah, throwing trample on on stuff is we'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah, you put it on Glitz of the Traitor, and all of a sudden you have a 6/6 trampling first strike death touch. That's wonderful.
That's disgusting. That's absolutely disgusting.
Oh wow! I never even thought about that.
Bleh.
That is awesome.
What about you, Sid? What's got your fancy?
Okay, so I'm going to reach for my soapbox and kind of just speak my piece on this. I have to get this off my chest. This has been eating at me for a while. So the Ikoria card started coming out, about a month and a half ago, and we got introduced to the companion mechanic, and I heard a lot of people coming from the EDH community, that is, get companion out of here. Companion doesn't matter. We don't want to see that in our format. The otter's been banned, so just ban all the companions. And companion was getting very little love, if any at all. But there was one sweet little demon kraken that I saw that didn't deserve all that vitriol. This was Garuda, Doom of Depths, 4 and 2 hybrid mana, black and blue. It's a 6/6 demon kraken. And it's just basically, everyone was just looking at the companion limitation. This one in particular, being that your deck can only contain even converted mana cost cards. And I saw that and I was just like, I can deal with that. That's no problem. I love Demir. I can rock with this. His other ability is that when he enters the battlefield, each player puts the top 4 cards, basically mills the top 4 cards into their graveyard. And you can put a even converted mana creature from among those onto the battlefield under your control. So I just love that I get to play with graveyards, bring creatures back, resurrect things, flicker my demon kraken, and just do some dumb stuff. And I started my list to do my pre-order buys. This guy was at like 50 cents max, 25 cents maybe. I don't know what happened, but there was like a quick buyout. Everybody started playing with this thing online, I guess. And it jumped up to like 10 bucks, $10 or more. I don't know. I got weird. I was like, so apparently people are feeling the demon kraken now. And so I mean, I guess I like that people like this creature. I don't know if they're actually playing it as companions online or they're just putting it in decks. Either way, I saw this card. I didn't think anybody else would like it. And now it was almost like a complete buyout. So I'm going to put away the soapbox. My anger has kind of subsided from the time that this started, but I guess I like that people like what I like.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah, it wrecked some Eternal formats because you just you play one as your companion, put the other 3 in your deck, and then you put spark doubles and clones, which are all even, and then you just milled them for 4 and milled them for 4 and milled them for 4 and you mill them for 4 again, and sooner or later their deck runs out or you get to your Thassa's Oracle and win the game. But in EDH, it's sweet.
I figured Thassa's Oracle would be worked in somehow. That was our favorite cards coming from the Ikoria set. To the listeners, guys, please let us know what you think let us know what your favorite cards are from the Ikoria set. What you can't wait to get your hands on when the set finally drops. So I think we're gonna sign off here as far as our conversations. Again, we pretty much want to thank everybody for listening in to our inaugural episode of MTGFAM, Magic the Gathering Family and Magic. We really want to put this out there to especially our MTG players who are also family people. Each episode, we're going to have some awesome advice for our parents and families and also for our Magic the Gathering players. So we're going to try to intertwine these topics and themes together into fun and interesting conversations. So again, my name is Sed. You can find me at Sed Senpai online. Kyle C. Carson online, because of course.
Right. Who doesn't use their proper name for their Twitter handle, right?
Right. Mason, you can find them at All I Do Is EDH online.
I'm the Mardu EDHDAD.
That's right. And together we are the EDHDADs. You can find our podcast. Right now, we're going to put it up on YouTube until we find a host home to throw our podcast up. But in case you find this later, for now, this is just going to be on YouTube until we get these up on other streaming sites. And be sure to check out our Patreon and TCG Player affiliate link. Some of the cards that we talked about, some cards that you may be interested in getting in upcoming sets. Help us out through the channel by using our affiliate link, and also help out your local game stores by using the affiliate link. Our local game stores can definitely use the support right now. So until we see you guys again or speak to you guys again, for now, signing off.